back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is the unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com, and the crew is joining us except for George, who is in wonderful Jamaica, thanks to the Price is Right this week. But Bob, Eddie here in the studio, and Josh joining us from Houston as always. I'm pretty sure nothing disastrous can go on in my life. My tree's already gone. Unless my house burns down, I think I'm good for the next hour and a half.
Well, that wouldn't be that'd be arson, I feel like, if it ends up happening. I don't know.
Are you admitting to anything right now?
No, not at all. I just feel like that would be a very random act of something that happens.
It is kind of hot out there, so
it's the hottest day of the year.
It's going to hit
it's going to be the hottest day of the year. Yeah. It's going to be
107.
Miserable outside. It's been miserable.
God.
It hasn't been Dallas miserable.
Josh is like a 107. Miserable. That's nothing.
No, I mean, that's one of those things that, like, it messes with you because Houston, you're like, well, it has to be hotter. It's never as hot in Houston as it is in Norman, but the humidity's 175%. Like, it's just, you walk outside right now in Houston, you are wet. It is hot. Like, it's probably the worst combo I can remember of heat and humidity at the same time. Maybe in the 10-plus years I've been living here. It's bad.
At least the grid's still holding up, and you haven't lost any power yet.
It's
coming. I mean, they've been sending out those notices, haven't they? Like, keep your air conditioner at 80 degrees or whatever during the middle of the day, which you have to be insane.
Yeah, I
don't know anybody that would ever do that.
You know what? Your smart hours. I am not here for that.
Not happening.
Never doing that.
Not happening at all.
I work from home. Like, they would never go to like an office building and be like, keep all these people at 80 degrees. Like, man, I work here. There's no way on earth I'm living at 80 degrees sweating in my house. That's not happening.
No, it's a miserable portion of the year. Like, we're officially here.
Now that you've mentioned it, I guess my air conditioner could explode and cause my house to catch on fire. That thing is old.
Need to get Jason White to come out, check it out, service it.
I got nothing wrong with the air comfort people.
Somebody's going to need to do it. Aren't you supposed to do that like before the beginning of summer every year?
All right, Mom.
I do, but
aren't you?
I actually complained about it on air the other day, and somebody tried to sell me windows through my DMs. They're like, it's your windows that are the problem. No, it's a 15-year-old air conditioner that's the problem, pal.
Yeah.
that I keep putting new parts on every summer to keep it alive, so I don't have to pay like $15,000 for a whole new one. Ugh. Again, like, here's the thing about like Eddie and George being in the office. Every time I talk about my home and the cost associated with owning a home, I think I am. And Bob knows this. I mean, a tree fell on his house. He was gone last week, doing tree stuff just like I was. It's expensive to have a house. It's stupid. Yes. I would want to go back to apartment life.
Oh, just knowing that you can call somebody and they come up and will service the air conditioner or do whatever you need. And I don't have to worry about it.
Other than the fact that you couldn't live in yours for a month and a half.
That was a natural disaster that we've worked through. And, God love everybody that got me back up on my feet.
Home warranty pays for itself.
We are definitely in the
Bob is a home warranty guy. He and my parents. You're like my parents, man.
Yeah. That air conditioning home warranty last week, that came
into play.
That came in handy.
So your air conditioner went down,
yep,
and the tree fell on your house.
Yes. That 24-hour period was immaculate.
Ugh.
Did you actually use a chainsaw yourself?
I did. I felt like a real man.
That's why you took a picture with standing in your front yard, but people pointed out you were wearing sandals, so it took away from the manliness, I think.
I'm at my house. Of course I'm going to wear sandals. I'm just chilling.
This is the time of the year where you gotta go all in on the sandals.
By the way, Josh, I did buy flip-flops. Josh did not approve of them, and they suck. They tried to murder my feet. I can't even stretch them out.
These are the good ones.
Reef is one of the few things on this earth I wouldn't even allow to advertise on the pod. And we all know I would sell myself out for anything, but there'll be no Reef propaganda on my podcast. I'll have nothing to do with it.
I'm so old. Like, I just go to Dillard's. That's the only. It's like Bed Bath & Beyond is gone now. I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I had to buy sheets at Dillard's. That's the only other place I know to go and buy things.
Did you guys ever walk in like the department stores? They're sad places now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of depressing to go in there.
That was the first time I've been to the mall in like 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't been to a mall in it's been a while.
Vacant stores.
Maybe to go in and run and get a belt like in a pinch or something before a wedding. But outside of that, I've not been in a actual department store in
I
a long
got
time.
stopped by a couple of scoopers. Well, one was a tech guy, but he knew of Scoop, so we talked some ball. I keep saying this, like, I don't know about you guys, but every time I run into somebody that wants to hotbox me, I don't mind. I mean, and talk about things.
It's fine.
The question I continuously get, and it's like, it's not so much a question as it's like, I love those videos like when a deer comes and finds someone to track them back because their kid is caught like in a soccer net. Have you seen one of those recently? Or like when bears or cougars, like wild animals tracking people down, humans down to come help them. I feel like that's what OU fans are when they come up to me in public now. They just want me to tell them that OU's going to win 10 games this year. Like, it's the overwhelming
it's
thing.
either the team or that recruiting's about to get these 5-star commits.
Yeah, but it's like a longing from the fan base. It's like, please tell me that it's going to get better this year, that they're going to win at least 9 or 10 games.
Well, I mean, can't it get any worse? Can it get any worse in the depths of hell that was the 2022
I think that's the question
season?
they're not asking. It's like, please tell me it's not going to be as bad.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I don't ever remember a time, and of course, I've never covered a 6-7 team. I never covered a team with a losing record.
Sure.
So it's a whole summer. I went to Gabe Eichert's kid's birthday party over the weekend, and by the way, shout out Cam. We're gonna be covering him at some point. I don't know what sport. Hopefully, we're all hoping for golf. Like, if you have a kid, I think you want him to be a golfer. I don't know how the Live PGA thing's going to work out. Maybe the money won't be there. Maybe the thing will fall apart. Sorry, Eddie, I'm not trying to trigger you, but
it's not going to. I think golf will always be around.
But I think golf is the best sport for a young man to get into. You don't have to worry about CTE. Baseball's not bad either. You just got to, it's not an American sport.
Baseball's just completely changed as far as the way that people go about the Little League and all that kind of stuff nowadays. So, I mean, yeah, golf is great. Golf is a sport that you can play for the rest of your life.
Basketball is not so bad, but you got to be a really good shooter.
But no, I mean, nowadays you got to be 6'5". If you're not 6'5", you're not going to be playing anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless you're a really good shooter.
I think Gabe's kid's going to be okay there, though.
Yeah, I think that he'll have some height for sure. He's got a good swing though at 2. So Gabe sent me a couple videos. We've put him in the simulator here early, and
he always has to send it to close friends because his kid's always in diapers when he's swinging a golf club. So,
I was out at Oak Tree National on Monday. There's a couple guys in diapers out there as well.
They're old though.
Yeah,
it's reverse diapers.
That's true.
It's like reverse mortgage. So yeah, I mean, it is the dead time of summer. It's about to get good, though. It's the calm before the storm. Yeah, it's about to get good, though.
It is legitimately the calm before the storm, and I think that's why there is so much angst right now among the fan base, and obviously with what the SEC move is going to bring with it. I think that everybody kind of knows, and if you've listened to this podcast or you've listened to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Gabe and Teddy and those guys, it just this is a very important year as far as getting the ball moving in the right direction before you kind of jump into 2024 and what that is going to be for the future of the program.
And Josh, this is kind of the talks that I've had with people that just want to talk shop during whenever I meet up with them or run into them. Like, I always tell everybody this, like, the best thing for OU football is for Brent to succeed, because I think he's a guy that is built to run a powerhouse program and keep it going at a high level because he just has so much energy. Like, he is, if he gets it going, I think it's going to stay going for a very long time.
I think that's a really good way to say it, Carey. Like, I think it feels like it goes in one or two extremes. Like, and maybe that's because Brent is something of an extreme personality, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just very, like you said, very energetic, very kind of in your face. Like, I think that goes one of two ways, and I think it either starts to move in that direction this year, or there's concern. But you guys are right. Board chat at this point in time is like a group therapy session. Like it's me trying to calm people down. Like I promise it's not as bad as it looks. It's gonna be okay. Like there's a lot of good things happening. OU just needs the first few dominoes to start falling like it did last summer, and I think that's gonna happen. And I know we'll get into a lot of that different stuff, but like I said, I think you're right. Like I think Brent, if he gets it going in the right direction, it's going to be very hard to slow Oklahoma down. It's just can they kind of get the train on the tracks?
Yeah, and it is interesting too, kind of watching recruiting and how people are reacting to Oklahoma, because I think it's a class that you can see building its way into. And that's another question I get, like, will he have another top 10 recruiting class? And it's headed in that direction. But at some point, regardless of what happens over the next month and a half, 2 months, this team's got to win. They got to win. They have to prove they can't be another middling team in the Big 12 and expect to hold a recruiting class together. It's a top 10 class, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can't do that when you don't have to play Texas Tech, Kansas State, or Baylor. You can't be a middling team when you don't have to play three of those guys. And then, the whole thing is commit when you're ready, but those kids are committing to an ideal of what you're selling them.
Right.
Right. It's like if you're not producing on your end, they have every right, like a Colton Vosick or an Anthony Evans from last year. Like you get to look around if this team isn't doing, and the coaching staff isn't performing the way that they said they were going to be when you made that commitment.
Yeah, and it is. It's the commitments are based on two-way, trust. It is that you're going to do what you're saying that you're going to do, which is make this program a national championship contender. And if that is the direction that I see, then I'm going to stay committed. And I have no reason to doubt. But if you go, win 6, 7, 8 games, you're adding doubt into whether that kid believes in your vision.
Well, and especially with the schedule, and we've talked about it. We did the win-loss prediction thing on Sooner Scoop. Just as far as, you start looking at the schedule and you start trying to find ways for them not to get to 9 or 9.5 or whatever that number wants to be. It would take some very abysmal efforts. And even for them to go 6 and 7 like they did a year ago, it took some effort in some of those games to lose in Morgantown or to lose in Lubbock or to lose, even a home game that they turned the ball over 4 times against Baylor. Like, you're still within the game in the fourth quarter. And it almost just seemed like everything that could happen happened at certain points of the year. And, obviously they got to be better on both sides of the ball. It has to be a better product.
I'm just seeing where Eddie is killing his family's flowers.
I didn't do that. That wasn't me. I'm taking care of the
flowers. There was somebody else that didn't properly water the flowers.
No, I think it was there. I think I just didn't notice it. And it might have been the hailstorm on Saturday night. So we're working through that, though. I've been watering every day. There's only so much I can do. There's only so much of a green thumb that I can
just blame
instill.
The heat. Just say, Mom.
Well, it is 1,000 degrees outside.
Finally
so
getting to that point.
That isn't my fault.
You can't save them all.
No, and the entire plant, the integrity of the plant is still rocking, so we're good.
Check Eddie's Twitter if you don't know what we're talking about. We are in the heat of commitment season, it seems. Let's talk a little bit about what has happened so far this week. Obviously, Josh, you'd put in a prediction. Yeah, what was it? When did you put in the Xavier Robinson prediction?
Well, I would say I'm trying to remember if I did that initially when we came over to Rival. I've got to look at that and be sure I'm stalling now to find it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I think I put one in at Rivals, if I'm not mistaken, and then obviously when we made the move. Yeah, because I put it in on May 1st at 7:30 a.m. So we'd been on an on-3 site for about 7.5 hours at that point. So, but yeah, so I think I'd had this done for several months. And Xavier, I talked about it in the story that we put up yesterday. He's a kid that grew up, watching OU football with his grandfather, and you could tell that was kind of the school he always dreamed of playing for. Now, I think Notre Dame made things really interesting. And, it's interesting that the guy recruiting him is the father of Day and Deshaun McCullough, Delland at Notre Dame. And I think that is kind of an interesting – it's interesting how those programs kind of keep running into each other in these kind of interesting scenarios. But it's big for Oklahoma because, again, you start to get that momentum going. Now you've got 2 of the 5 guys at Carl Albert that you want already in the boat. And, again, X was very honest. He's, I'm going to be recruiting those guys. I want Marcus James and Tristan Haynes and Trinae Washington all to join, himself and Kevin Sperry now. So I like the direction they're heading. I think it's, again, we can go person by person and blow by blow, but I think it's a good start, and it starts to allow Oklahoma to go back to Caden Durham and Taylor Tatum and say, hey, guys, we've got our first running back, no pressure, but, we want to get this room done. We want this to be something where we know what we've got, hopefully, going into the season, I'm sure is their plan.
Josh, I remember being at the Venables camp last June. And we both said, why in the world is this kid at running back? Why is he not at linebacker? When did Xavier really kind of change that narrative to where, oh, wait a minute, he can play at a Power 5 level at running back, just like he has always believed that he can?
It really, and again, it's just so interesting because it's one of those things where you talk to people like Carl Albert and Mike Dunn or any of the other staff guys, and they're like, oh, yeah, we always knew he was really talented. But, Carl Albert, of course, had some guys the year in front of him that were quality players. And I think there was just let's just see what they've got there. But when I was by last spring to see them, he wasn't shining at running back. They were selling him as a linebacker, and it was, kind of Texas Tech likes him. Oklahoma's going to come by and see him. There was, it wasn't just kind of like, this maybe could work. That was absolutely what they thought they had. And then I think he surprised everybody. They knew he was talented, but to go do what he did and, almost 40 touchdowns and 2,600 yards, I don't know that anybody could have predicted that, but I wonder how much of it's born out of necessity. And I think it's kind of interesting from an OU perspective where Carl Albert was replacing a big portion of their offensive line. And he was doing that last year behind a group that was kind of coming together as the season went on. And I think that's part of why they had kind of a slow start to the year. And then as everybody kind of figured it out, the timing got better, he just kind of became this unstoppable force. So it's scary to think that this year, along with all the talent that, that everybody knows about at Carl Albert, they return 80% of their starting offensive line. They're going to be really good. And it's kind of scary that the numbers he could put up, but he probably won't because he'll be out of the game by halftime a good portion of the year, I would guess.
The numbers are just silly. They had a big poster board yesterday at his commitment ceremony, 276 total carries, 2,594 yards, 185.3 a game, 9.4 per carry, 39 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns last year. In 4 games of the 2022 playoffs, in the 5A level, 840 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns en route to a state championship for Carl Albert. He ranked 8th in rushing TDs nationally as a junior, 5th in rushing yards, and 10th in points scored. And those were national rankings for all juniors in 2022. So in the 2024 class, it really is crazy. I mean, I don't think that people get a good idea of how big he actually is. Until you get up close to him. I mean, he's a load.
His lower half could pass for a defensive lineman.
Sure.
That's how big he is in the lower body. And I don't mean that he can't move. He can. But he has a big, strong base. And it's why that Eddie and I and anybody that sees him, you just can't help but think I would never want to tackle that human being. Never, because he not only is he big and strong, but he can move. So I think he's a guy that Oklahoma can do a lot of interesting stuff with. I wouldn't be surprised if they have him on the field with some of the other backs, the Dalen Smothers, should they land Caden Durham, Taylor Tatum, some of those guys, and do some mixed packages where they can have him, doing some stuff. I don't H-back's not the right way to put it, but just like have him used in a variety of roles because he's just a mismatch out in space with his size and his quickness.
Isn't it kind of interesting? I mean, hearing you talk about him just makes me think of running backs of the past. I kind of got in this stupid argument. It's almost too stupid to even mention, but I was arguing, with my radio cohorts about whether or not Eric Gray was going to be some huge loss, and I was just like, Eric Gray was a nice player, but he is. If you take the list of OU running backs over the last 10 years, he is nowhere near the top. Like. This was a program that once had...
speaks to how high that list has been, though. Like, how good those players have been. But,
like, to think about having Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon, who both productive backs to this day in the NFL, like, OU, like, you're talking about a group now, and we'll see where, Devontae Barnes ends up, but Javonte Barnes. But, I mean, you're starting to see, like, maybe this is finally rebuilding this running back room at Oklahoma because... And DeMarco Murray's done a great job recruiting, but it can be so much better than it's been the last couple of years. So much. I mean, it's been as down the last. Yeah. Even though they've had good players, they've not been elite.
Like Kennedy Brooks,
right?
Trey Sermon. Yeah, I mean they've had solid guys, but DeMarco Murray. I mean that was the goals for him was to start getting those elite backs back to Norman. And that it just happened that first year.
But we focus so much on like Dylan Gabriel and what he isn't like. We haven't stopped to talk about the running back room has not been elite.
Yeah, but how bad would that offense have been if Eric Gray wasn't that guy over the last 6-7 games last year?
Right,
I mean, he was probably not the home run threat that everybody hoped, but he was serviceable enough that he was going to give you, towards the end of the season, he was giving you probably 6 or 7 yards a carry.
But was he even better than Trey Sermon at his best? See, you have to think about it even. I mean, the fact that you have to think about it says a lot to me.
Whenever Trey Sermon was at his best at OU, not with the Buckeyes.
The Iowa State game, Ohio State, he was pretty good, in that period. But he was never. It was clear he wanted to be the best back, but he wasn't. That's why he transferred in the first place.
Kennedy Brooks was so damn
underappreciated,
though.
Out of all the running backs in the last 10 years, he's definitely my number one of most underappreciated. But he was every time he touched the ball, he was that Texas game. I mean, he was unbelievable. Just he was that guy that in the fourth quarter when defenses were worn down, he would just run all over you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is even, and this might go back into kind of I think what we're going to have to talk about at some point is what they're not being able to do right now on the offensive line, and it kind of goes into probably an idea that they haven't been as good up front, and that's probably affected a lot of things in terms of the run game. And you hope that they make they turn the corner here going into this season because it does appear that they have a really good set of running backs in Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk, and maybe even some of the freshmen that are coming in.
You mentioned the offensive line. Obviously, Aaryn Parks hits the portal this morning, so there's another loss to look ahead to the season, and I think a lot of it.
By the way, what portal again? Like,
can you
hit the portal when there is no portal? Like, it's just he's just transferred. Can we go back to calling it transfers?
Well, and he's not a graduate, so there's no. I don't like. He's almost got to walk on somewhere or sit the year.
Why do we even have a portal? Choice. Why do we have the two players have left outside of portal hours? I don't know if it's an old man yelling at clouds, but it's ridiculous.
It doesn't seem like it.
Like the NCAA is bent over backwards to create this portal to give people a chance to leave if they feel like their career's not going in the right direction.
Why don't you utilize it the way that it's supposed to be used?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
So, I mean, why it doesn't make the NCAA look stupid. It just makes you realize that you kind of side with the coaches. Like, you can have a portal all you want. players are still going to get pissed and leave or upset or, disgruntled or whatever.
And when it comes to Parks, hey, he was like in our short list in the spring. It's like, I'm not sure if this guy's going to be here. I'm not sure why he's still here. And now he missed the window, and so he missed any chance of doing anything.
I guess it goes to show you everybody gets sick of working out hard in the summers, and they want to quit.
And not to say that that's what it was, but we also don't know that that's not what it was. It's like there's only so few things that you can, kind of account for during this time of the year. You just don't see guys leave right now.
Well, he's from like the Maryland area, right? Wasn't he, Josh?
Yeah, he is. Was he DC or Maryland? There were so many guys in that time frame.
When Shane Beamer was just cleaning up in that area.
Fort Washington, Maryland.
He was at that. He was at National Christian Academy in Maryland. Yeah. And I mean, this was a guy. There were people that thought he was the best offensive lineman in that class for Oklahoma. I mean, he was
fantastic at the 5-star that year. I mean, he was the MVP.
Oh, people forget he was the big guy, not Anton Harrison.
Right.
He was the guy that everybody thought was the going to be the big star in that class.
But yeah, I mean, I think Eddie and I are going to start going down kind of a position, kind of something for YouTube we've been planning. And just kind of going down, breaking down positions. But offensive line is going to be really interesting because you got a lot of potential there, and you just have a lot of unknowns as well. So
it also feels like you're an injury or two away from just really being screwed.
Yeah,
in a really bad spot.
Yes,
in a really bad spot.
But it's been that way for the last 3 years, hasn't it?
For the line, yeah.
That 2020 class that everybody thought was maybe Bill's best ever. Nate Anderson, who I think we've all accepted is just not going to be a guy at Oklahoma's level. Noah Nelson, who left almost immediately. Andrew Rame, who's had a solid career, I think could have his best year yet coming. Anton Harrison, obviously huge hit there, first rounder. And Aaryn Parks. So you've had 3 guys that are just completely inconsequential to the program of the 5.
By the way, we've talked a lot. Eddie is watering flowers, and I'm not blaming his vision on why he's killing the plants, but he does have, you have pretty good vision, Eddie.
That's why I could see the flower that had died on the side, is because I had the x-ray vision from Enjoy Vision, who I went and saw yesterday, actually. I went over and caught up with them, had to do some stuff over within the office, and it was always good to catch up. They were busy, which isn't a surprise. This is the time of the year that you can kind of take advantage of getting Enjoy Vision with LASIK. So
yeah, you want to go on those big vacations and be able to see everything.
And the best part about it is
Hoover Dam, maybe
you get in and out, and you wake up the next day with perfect vision. They use the combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, which was life-changing for me. Enjoy loves the unofficial 40 listener, so they're giving $400 off for LASIK. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter N. JOYwithme.com. Use promo code U40 for $400 off of LASIK. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
I would love to have the vision to be able to see someone install our new carpet. That's. I might need to go to Enjoy for that. So I don't want to get triggered and stressed and on a different other tangent. But no. But Josh, back to recruiting. I mean.
And offensive line.
I mean,
go hand in hand.
Now, if you want to get triggered, maybe that's what you need to do.
Where is OU in that scenario right now? Because I see a lot of guys, a lot of targets committing elsewhere right now.
Yeah, you have to start with the offensive line because I think that's where everyone's concern is right now. I mean, that really seems – it's funny. The defensive line obviously has so many huge names, and we'll go over some of that, but – the offensive line there's just a lot of question marks. Like there's plenty of guys that Oklahoma's in on, but in talking to, people in the media and then talking to sources, I don't know who they get. Like I don't know who that is. Like I know there is still some faith in Casey Poe, but I know, that for those that don't know, the big offensive lineman from East Texas, one of Oklahoma's primary targets, one of their most important guys. And Casey has talked to me a lot through the last year about the Soul program and how much that means to him. Obviously, his relationship with Bill Beatonbaugh is really close. Bill Beatonbaugh, I've got to get that in my head. I'm still working on that. But anyway, but there's clearly there's a feeling that it's going to be Alabama. And that's a really tough loss for Oklahoma if that's the way that goes. You certainly you get it. I mean, you choose an Alabama, like everybody understands that can go that way. But for Oklahoma to come this close, and that's the thing. Like, it looks like they're going to finish second on 6 or 7 of their top targets, and that you're just like, good Lord! Like, if they just get a couple of those to go their direction, you can fill out the rest of your class with some guys that maybe you think have some upside, or you can wait till the portal. Like, you can do some stuff. But if Oklahoma just strikes out, that's really tough, because it's not just that it's a tough look, it's that it's not a great year nationally for offensive linemen. And I think that's part of this. That's part of the problem you're seeing is Georgia's taking guys they wouldn't normally take, and Alabama's taking guys they wouldn't normally take. And I don't necessarily mean Casey Poe. I just mean there are some guys out there that I think are getting to live above their natural marketplace. So that's kind of, and that just trickles down. I mean, Oklahoma's certainly not a bottom feeder, but for them to beat Georgia and Alabama head up, they're usually going to need a little bit of help or some reason why they can win. So like I said, you look at Bennett Warren, who I think a lot of people thought Oklahoma led for probably a month ago. I don't know. I mean, like, that feels like a maybe Tennessee, Michigan, A&M kind of battle. Weston Davis picking A&M. I think that was always coming, but that's still a tough loss for Oklahoma, because there were some people I know when he took his official that were, he's going to go to Oklahoma, and that didn't match up with what we'd heard, but that's fine. Grant Bricks. I think Oklahoma's kind of like Casey Poe. Like, I think they might be second right now. And it's going to drive people crazy to hear that I think they're second to Kansas State. But I think the reality is he's a small town kid from Iowa. And I think he's struggling with the idea of getting any farther from home than he absolutely has to. And so I think that's giving Kansas State a pretty serious leg up. But again, I don't think that race is run. I don't think Casey Poe is done. The guy I put it in Woke this morning, Marquise Easley, I think that's pretty much done. I think he's going to Georgia, and I know everybody's like, well, Georgia wasn't in his top 3. Of his top 3, I think Oklahoma's the only one that is still actively pursuing that guy. I don't think Alabama is that hard after him right now. I don't think Tennessee's that hard after him, and I think it's largely built because everybody expects him to go to Georgia.
You gonna be okay, Josh? That
is maybe the most depressing.
I don't think it's Josh that are you gonna be okay question. It's everyone listening right now. Are you guys gonna be okay?
Goodness gracious!
Again, like I have, and again, I really liked what they did by and large last year on the offensive line class, and you thought, okay, just build a little bit here, get some wins, and kind of move on. And it's just not happening the way that I think I expected it to. Now, and I hesitate to say this because everybody like, I don't care. It looks really good in 2025. They're off to an outstanding start with some really elite guys, and it's kind of the opposite of this year where you don't have a lot of big-time offensive linemen. There are 3 really good tackles just in the North Dallas area, and I think Oklahoma is first or second with all of those guys right now. Now, again, we got to see where that goes. And I know that's kind of, that's just a Band-Aid on a bullet wound for a lot of people. I understand. But 2024 is just, it's taken some interesting turns on the offensive line. And I kind of kept thinking, okay, this will work out, or this will play for them. And so far, I struggle to find a guy in 24 that I'm ready to say he's going to be part of that class. And maybe something turns out for them. Maybe some numbers turn in their direction. But right now, it's kind of tough to see the path of this class being where Oklahoma would want it to be.
Which is so interesting, too, because you look at, they got the quarterback in place. They seemingly have a young really good projected upside running back room. Offensive skill position wise, it seems like it's pretty positive on that side. It just, I don't know. It kind of it's intriguing. Why can't you?
You saw Anton Iwanye. You saw other, Orlando Brown, Ben Powers making.
Orlando Brown was all over ESPN yesterday.
All Bill has done is send guys to the league, and they've seemingly had successful careers. Obviously, Creed was right in their own backyard, but I mean, I think that Creed would give credit to Bill for helping develop him. I don't know. Something doesn't add up in why they're not able to have any positives right now on the offensive line.
Well, and the thing is, Bill finally got over that hurdle that we've all talked about for years. Like, we hadn't had that first round pick. He hadn't had that big first name. He finally gets it, and this is the class where where there's gonna be problems. Like, I don't understand it. I certainly don't think he's doing anything different. Like, I know there's people out there trying to turn this into a narrative about him. And guys, I thought they landed 3 future starters last year, and Howland and Green, potential quality NFL type players. Like, sure. And so I really, it's not like, oh, this is some referendum. Like, I can't put my finger on what it is. I think,
is there something in play there too, that if you're a prospective kid going to look for a school, you do see those 3 guys or the 2 guys, and specifically in Howland and Caden Green, and you go, well, I'm trying to look for somewhere to play, but then again, you look at Georgia and Alabama, and I imagine that their depth is just as slam-packed. Like, it's not going to be a situation where you just walk in and you're able to start anywhere.
Yeah, I don't really see that as being, and you kind of answered your own question, but like, I don't think that's really part of it for them. Again, part of it is, I mean, you look at these guys they're offering. I mean, you talk about, we can just kind of go through some of these guys we're talking about. Grant Brix is from Iowa. Okay, that's not in your normal recruiting region. Eddie Pierre-Louis from Florida. Obviously Casey Poe is an exception. You got Marquise Easley from Illinois. Like, it's a really, really down year in Texas, and I just don't know if they were, if they're going to be able to weather that. And again, you look at last year, they landed a guy from Colorado that could have gone to Oregon, Miami, had a bunch of great offers, and Josh Bates. Caden Green could have went anywhere in the country from Missouri, picks Oklahoma. Logan Howland, I think, is maybe one of the highest upside guys in that class. And he's from New Jersey, and Oklahoma was in on him early, beat out Iowa and Miami. I mean, a couple of schools that know what it looks like on the offensive line. And obviously Miami signed 2 5-star tackles last year. So they are very able recruiters. And it's tough to pinpoint what has happened, why it's gone so badly. But I do think there is, I don't know, some resistance to, like, okay, we're not going to get this guy. We need to move away. Like, I think a really good example is Daniel Cruz, who they brought in a couple weeks ago, and I love Daniel Cruz. I think he's a great kid. He's a really good center. I understand the appeal of him. Daniel Cruz, I felt very confident he was going to Texas, Eddie, since we talked to him at the Under Armour camp in March. Like, at some point you have to – and I get, like, these coaches want to compete, and these kids are telling them, oh, coach, I love your school, and I've been there, and the kids keep coming up for visits, and, like, I understand. But at some point, there's got to be a take stock of this doesn't, like, too many people are saying this is not going to be anything but Texas to keep bashing your head into that wall. Like, I don't understand it, and it's again, I certainly don't think this is all on OU. I think there is just an element of some bad luck and some things not lining up very well. But I think we're going to have to see Oklahoma pivot, and I'm very interested to see where that goes.
I know fans right there probably ready to turn off the podcast. It's just not good news.
There's good news. There's good things out there, I promise.
Just say a name. Just throw a name out there.
Well, let me put you in a better mood. How about 25% off a shrimp? That can help elevate your mood lot.
That's going to really send these people off.
And prime shrimp.
That's right.
I mean, that will take care of it. Use that promo code U40. You'll get 25% off your order of $50 or more from primeshrimp.com. I've actually had people DM me lately say, hey, can you give me that offer for the Prime Shrimp? Appreciate you guys supporting the pod and our sponsors and Prime Shrimp. It's shrimp made easy. I mean, it's restaurant quality food that you can make under 10 minutes in your house. Avoid all those DoorDash and Grubhub feeds. And is Postmates still a thing? I don't even have them on my phone. But go check it out. You can get the New Orleans style barbecue is their latest flavor, lemon and cracked pepper shrimp. The French Quarter Alfredo, like a lot of people's personal favorites. And if you like the Cajun stuff, get their signature Cajun seasoned shrimp. Also, the Louisiana shrimp boil, crab boil. Is it? I can't even remember. Louisiana boil Cajun shrimp. How about that? That's the exact. So go check them out. Primeshrimp.com. It'll make you happy. It'll make you feel good. It's light. It healthy. Just go get it. U40, use that promo code. Get 25% off your order of $50 or more. So thanks to Prime Shrimp for always having our backs. And thanks to you guys for listening and buying all the Prime Shrimp. So let's keep with the good news and talk about there's already one running back in the fold. I know, Bob, you wrote the story yesterday. There's two more guys that they've got their eye on. One is the number one overall running back in the country. Josh, how are things looking there?
This is, guys, there's positives. Just everybody calm
Keep
down.
Listening.
Open the garage door, roll the windows down in your car, like it's all going to be fine. Like, just everybody relax. There's plenty of good news. I think Oklahoma remains in a great spot for Taylor Tatum. The number one, as Carey mentioned, number one running back in the country.
I'm going to cut you off and just say, when is he making the choice then? Because that's what people are going to want to know now.
Sure. That is an interesting question because I think Taylor. It's really at this point Taylor doesn't need to take in any new information. He knows it's USC and OU. He knows what he likes about both schools. My guess is it's just tough to tell a certain school no. I think that's as simple as it gets at this point. Now, could it still be USC? Yeah. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility. But I have to say, one guy you have to give a lot of credit on this staff when it comes to closing, a guy who doesn't miss very often is DeMarco Murray. I mean, you go back to when Lincoln Riley left for USC and tried to recruit Javonte Barnes out there. DeMarco Murray was having none of it. Like, I mean, that they closed that down, helped him close down Jake Taylor. DeMarco Murray's very good at keeping his guys under wraps, and I think they feel like they've got Taylor Tatum kind of all but in the fold. So we'll see. Again, I know people get mad when I say we'll see. It's recruiting, man. Crazy stuff happens, stuff I can't foresee, but I don't know at this point what could seismically change. I mean, you're going into a dead period. It feels like Taylor probably just wants some time away from this for a little bit, let him sort himself out. I think the family is very much in Oklahoma's, side of things. And obviously the relationship he has, like we've talked about again and again with Skip Johnson and the baseball staff, is unparalleled. And he really cares about baseball. This isn't a guy that's just going out there to fart around. He really loves baseball. I've heard people call it his first love, and I think there's some validity to that.
Josh, we've talked about it before, and I think we talked about it on the podcast. I mean, there are people within the scouting industry, within the college baseball side of things that think like, if they could really force him one way or the other, it would be your future is on a baseball field. It's not a football field. I don't think that people realize, and it kind of took me a minute to kind of fully understand how talented he is on a baseball field.
Eddie, and I get this 100% from you because I was of the opinion like he plays baseball and is pretty good at it. And then, talking to you kind of in some of our conversation, it was like, oh, no, he's got a chance to be kind of special. And you're like, oh, okay, that's different. And again, Oklahoma's got a good track record. Even guys like a guy that we don't talk about enough, Cade Horton did some of this for a while. Sure. Like there was absolutely that, so
Cade was going to play football until he had to have Tommy John surgery as a freshman. So,
yep. there's absolute. I don't think there are many schools in the country that can claim the track record that Skip Johnson and his crew have working with a football team and saying, hey, this is what it's going to be. And I can't remember how much of this we talked about last week, but I know I keep hearing this thing from USC people that's just like, oh, it's about, Lincoln Riley allowed that to happen. And I get he's on a football scholarship. Like, I understand that and all those things. But I was talking to a couple of football sources, and they're like, it's spring. Football's not winning or losing any games in the spring. It's baseball. Like, and this was from football people. Like, they understand how this works. That in the spring, that he is beholden much more to baseball, or a guy in this situation is, than he is to football. So you have to have a baseball coach that's willing to work with you. And Skip Johnson has proven he can do that, and Gaines and that whole group, they can do that and are willing to do that. And so, like I said, I think it's tough for me to see it not working out, but I wouldn't call anything impossible.
Let's move on to the other back, and Caden Durham, who did make his trip this last weekend. Is that a cause for concern?
I mean, it's got to make you sweat a little bit. You LSU and all that program has to offer, and all the connections they have to Duncanville. Now, what's an interesting sub-story here is all the talk now of Texas being in good shape with his teammate Colin Simmons. Now, I realize that's counterintuitive to say, oh, that's good for Oklahoma that a 5-star defensive end may go to Texas. But if Colin Simmons isn't at Texas, that lessens some of the appeal, because that's kind of been LSU's pitch is, oh, we're going to make a Duncanville pipeline here to LSU. And obviously LSU's done a nice job at that program. So it doesn't turn, and Frank Wilson's an outstanding recruiter there at LSU. So this is not to say that if that happened, it's all over for LSU. I still just think Oklahoma's in really good shape. And the only thing to me that trips this up is if these guys start thinking about there's 3 backs in my class. Like, does that and again, Oklahoma's been honest with them. They know the score. They, DeMarco Murray, Jeff Lebby, they've talked to these guys. They know what's happening. So I'm not saying it's a surprise. I'm just saying those things can seem kind of easy. And then when you've been the man your entire high school career and you start thinking about sharing carries and all that kind of stuff, like, some guys get that's the best way to make their career last as long as possible. And then some guys are like, nah, I want to be the guy. So you don't know how. To me, that's the biggest potential hang up, because I think Oklahoma is clearly out in front for Caden Durham. I think they are clearly out in front for Taylor Tatum, and obviously they already have Xavier Robinson in the boat.
That's too much good news for one podcast, I think.
All right, well then I'll go back another way. There's a lot of like dates are popping up, but it doesn't feel like they're OU guys yet. Are you a little surprised that we kept saying be patient, wait for the barbecue? It's happened. We're almost 2 weeks later, and it still feels like we're kind of not reaching, but sort of wondering, when are some of those OU-centric guys going to start naming their date?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you just get into that question of, like, what else do you need to see? It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with Taylor Tatum. There's unless some school comes out of nowhere, what has David Stone not seen that he needs to see? He's been to Oklahoma 37 times. He's been to Florida, I think, half a dozen times. He's been to Miami multiple times. Been to Michigan State probably 10 times. I mean, maybe not that much, but he's been there plenty. Like, unless you're looking at someone new, and I know Oregon's kind of involved there, and I'm sure they want him to run it out, but and again, I know people say, well, he's got to sort it out and, figure out if he can stay close to home. And that's always kind of been the hang up. And I think there's merit to that. But at this point, you either can or you can't. Like, it's either going to work out or it's not. And I still continue to think there's very little that's going to stop David Stone from going to Oklahoma. I think that's the way that plays out. We'll watch it and we'll see. But then you've got guys like Williams Nwaneri. I think it's Nwaneri. I think I've been throwing that first in there. And I think it's silent from everything I keep reading. I've never actually asked William, so that's my bad. But the thing I would say with him is you're hearing a lot of people saying, like, it's Georgia and Oklahoma, and he's going to sit down and talk with his family and coaches, and this may be done in the next week, 10 days. Like, I mean, there's a feeling that this could happen fairly rapidly. Now, I think the longer you get away from that Georgia visit, the better it is for Oklahoma. Like, if he'd have come home and said, I'm deciding Monday, oh, that's not good. That's real bad. But I think as it goes farther and farther and farther down the road, and you don't see Georgia sites coming in with predictions, you don't see guys like Chad Simmons that we know is really connected in that area of the world. Like, he's not coming in with a prediction. He thinks, Georgia is pulled even or right there with Oklahoma. The longer you get from that visit, I think the less chance Georgia comes in with a steal here. Don't get me wrong. It could absolutely be Georgia. I'm not overly confident in anything because that's freaking Georgia, and he's a defensive lineman. Like, I get it. But my confidence in Oklahoma grows a little bit day by day here. I think just talking to some people, there's a lot of belief in all those relationships because it's not just Miguel Chavis. It's not just Todd Bates or Brent Venables or anybody else. It's his head coach, Jamar Mosey, whose son is – I have a prediction in to go to Oklahoma in the class of 2025, Isaiah at wide receiver, who he played last year, lined up in practice every day against Caden Green, who is one of those freshman offensive linemen we were talking about a little while ago at Oklahoma that I know is loving his time so far at Norman from everything I've heard. There's a lot that binds him there. In Georgia, I know he's got the relationship with the coach, who's a fellow, Nigerian, and I know that's meaningful. It really is. But at the same time, I've heard Oklahoma has had I've even heard some talk that Obo Okoronkwo has had maybe a conversation in there somewhere. Like, I think Oklahoma is, again, he's the best defensive player in the country. They are leaving no stone unturned in trying to make sure he's part of this class.
All right. I'm just trying to think if there's anything recruiting-wise. We haven't really covered this. I mean,
no, it's just a wait and see. I
Yeah.
mean, it really, it truly is a wait and see.
I
And
guess
then-
there's one that maybe we won't have to wait too long. Wyatt Gilmore seems like he's trending more and more to the Sooners.
Yeah, I put in, and I think I'll fully own it. I think I was the most hesitant of any of the OU recruiting guys. Like, I was a little behind on that one, but I wanted to talk to some more people. I wanted to see if maybe the visit would wear off, because coming out of the visit, Wyatt was very excited. He loved his trip. It was amazing. It was perfect. Felt like home. Like, all the key words that that go off for me as a recruiting guy, he was hitting all the buttons. And you're like, okay, something's cooking here. And it just feels like that's something that maybe even as someone's listening to this on a, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, they already know more than I know at this current moment. But it feels pretty close. Like, it feels like something could really happen at almost any minute. I can say I have my Twitter alerts on. Like, I am watching him closely. But the two others I did want to talk about just briefly if we're going to move on to something else. Zion Ragens, the wide receiver from Georgia, took a visit to Florida State last weekend. Talking to Florida State people, I think they thought the visit went really well, and they still think the kid's going to Oklahoma. So, like, I don't think a lot changed there. It's kind of getting down to the point where, okay, if he's going to do something, go ahead and do it. The interesting one that really surprised me was Braden Platt, the linebacker from Washington that I know Oklahoma's very high on, 4-star guy, kind of top 250 guy in the country. And I knew he loved his visit to Oklahoma. I knew it went really well. But I just kind of thought he'll stay closer to home and go to Oregon. Talking to Oregon people, there's a little bit of sweat going on. It's not. I think they kind of expected the same as I did, that like he'd go on that visit and that would probably be it for his recruiting. But it sounds like Oklahoma's given him a lot to think about. And if he could be the other linebacker of James Nesta, I think Oklahoma is pretty happy with that class. I mean, they might look to add maybe a late riser as a senior or something like that, but if you told them that their class was Nesta and Platt, I don't think they're upset about it.
By the way, doesn't Devon Mitchell have an announcement coming up?
July 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. 2025, tight end, Miami, creeping back in there.
Yeah, I hear your boy is doing some serious work there, Carey. You're the Lifewallet. So we'll see.
Oh, no.
They're going head to head with Lifewallet.
Oh, no.
John Ruiz?
Yeah.
That is the rumor of the
this
day.
Is a big one. Yep.
He drove the Cavender twins out of college athletics as a whole.
Well, they just didn't need his money.
No, I'm kidding.
That's concerning. I mean, he's the hole in my heart that was going to fill the Braden Willis loss. I mean, another tight end man crush that I could, have and hold near.
I'm really glad you didn't say like sink my teeth into. That was going to be really uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable and weird. So, by the way, it is. It's. I'm just going to ignore what you said about Lifewallet. And just pretend like it never happened, and then I'll just be mad on July 8th, I guess.
So it comes down to money or relationships with Mike Hawkins and that group that are trying to obviously employ him to go to Oklahoma.
That's what it feels like. And again,
and not to say that OU wouldn't be in on the the NIL game as far as getting the services of a 5-star tight end. I think it's pretty obvious.
This is a little outdated here now, Josh, but did OU not pursue Nate Roberts nearly as much because of Mitchell, you think?
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assumption. That's not to say that Oklahoma didn't produce. I mean, obviously, for some of the things that you can say about Cooper Alexander, you can't say those things about Nate Roberts. Oklahoma offered him early. He was a priority to them. I mean, was among his first major offers. Like maybe Kansas beat Oklahoma, but I mean, as far as Power 5, Oklahoma was right up there with anybody. I need to look at the timeline to be sure. But Washington, that whole situation's kind of a perfect storm. For those that don't know, Nate's older brother Jake was at North Texas, went into the portal last year after a couple of good years. And I just think they felt like they got some runaround about Jake's recruitment in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma wasn't going to offer him, and then they did offer him kind of late, and he'd already made up his mind for Baylor. Like I think it was just a little too late, and there just wasn't the interest that I think that they had hoped for. And then you turn over to Nate. I don't know that it was that meant Nate was never coming to Oklahoma, but you add that to the situation with Cooper Alexander, where I think there was probably some sore feelings, I think it's fair to say, about how some of that was handled. And again, Oklahoma liked Cooper. I think they felt like there were some guys they were a little higher on. The Carter Nelson kid from Nebraska. Again, though, that kind of lends into the thing I talked about earlier, where you haven't been getting Carter Nelson for a while. Like I felt like there probably was an earlier pivot that was possible, and he's not the only one. So I don't want to make it just about this guy or that guy, but it just I don't know. Like it felt like Cooper could have been handled better, and I think the Jake Roberts situation, all that kind of coming together, basically took it from where Oklahoma could have had 3 quality tight ends to they got none, and that's. In a room that seems a little deep, a little shallow right now, that's a kind of a tough pill to swallow.
And then are we officially done with him, with Mitchell maybe going to 2024? Or is that still out there?
That still is going on. And I don't know what, school starts in, 6-7 weeks. Like, I don't know what he's doing or how close he is. Like, it's very interesting. But I know there are people that still think that's the plan and that still expect him to do that. Now, he'll talk to me, and the second I bring that up, he'll kind of clam up. So I don't know how to read that situation just yet, but I can say I have not heard it's off the table.
By the way, we've talked about how hot it is right now. I don't know if you guys have these, but I've always wanted them, and I'm not wearing them today, but I finally got some of those shoes that they're slip-ons. Not like the Skechers, the weird ones, but I think they're Cole Haans, but I'm going to tell you, having no-shows with those things are fantastic. Like deadsoxy.com is what I'm talking about. The no-shows. I literally don't have enough of the no-shows. I've got to buy more. I've got 6 pairs, but having the no-shows and having those slip-ons, that makes summer so much more bearable. I know Eddie plays golf barefoot now, but
No, it was one shot hit barefoot because I had flip-flops on.
But it was great, too, because, Saturday night when I was over at Gabe's, I could just take them off and get in the pool, just wade in the pool a little bit. But it makes your life better having the no-shows. So go to deadsoxy.com. Use that promo code SCOOP. You'll get 25% off your entire order. I'm looking right now because I've got to get some more no-shows. I just need them in my life. But if you've got, if you got the business look and you got to have some nice socks, go get the boardroom. Lots of different ones to select from. But also stocking up for the season's important as well. Get the athletic casual socks or go to the team colorways. They've got the Crimson 4-packs, a couple of different ones. So a must for game days, but just a fantastic sock company and big part of Sooner Scoop. I'm looking right now, they got the 8-bit maker Bayfield still for sale there. Get 25% off and then get this 3-pack Luna Black no-shows to go with it. Just a great sock and a must for summer is the no-shows. I can't recommend them more highly. And great customer service on the website. Use that promo code SCOOP, 25% off your entire order. Deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY.com, and as always, stay soxy. There was one thing other than the Mitchell stuff, and you mentioned the NIL stuff. Did you guys see I think the Brander Group is the biggest terrorist now in our country. They're trying to block the EA Sports college football release.
Monsters.
I was looking at this earlier, and they're saying that it's not fair. It's not market value. What is market value though? Like they're talking about what the NFL players get paid. Here's the thing: there's 32 NFL teams, 53-man rosters. There are 133 Division I college football teams with 85-man rosters. So I figured this out. If you had $1 million to split up for everyone in the NFL and everyone in college, NFL players would get, let's see, what did I put here? $589 a piece.
Okay.
If you had $1 million and split it up between every college football player, it's $88 a piece. Like I'm sorry that there are more players. I mean, that's $500. So, I mean, a piece that they're offering, and you can opt out. You don't have to do it. I just don't see why these terrorists have to try and take college football. I mean, I'm almost getting too old to play games anymore. But I need something on the side.
Even the best years of NCAA didn't make anything close to Madden money. Not even close.
No.
And so, it's not the same pool to begin with, and it's going into a much bigger pool. So, I ranted about this a while back because it's so stupid. And I mean, don't get me wrong, part of it is absolutely biased because I love the game. But, if you're a player, what is your choice here? We're going to make this game, and Javonte Barnes, you can be number 2 Oklahoma running back, or we can pay you $500, and you can be Javonte Barnes, and your cousins and your friends and everybody, they can use you on the game, and you will forever be part of that game. What is the choice? What are we talking about? It's a non-starter. It doesn't make any sense at all.
It's $5.6 million that they'd be shelling out to every Division I football player. I think they're even going to have Division II teams in it. But it's just I get it. You're trying to protect people that you represent, but you don't represent every player, and you're blocking guys from getting $500 for doing nothing.
Yep.
That you don't represent. I mean, it's just they filed an injunction now against EA Sports, and EA Sports has had to file something back, and it's just going to delay the whole thing. Can't have nice things. Just annoys me. So, I don't know. I saw that, and it was just it was bothering me. It's been bothering me all morning. But yeah, that's over $5.5 million. They're just giving people for doing nothing. And you know what? If you're Caleb Williams and you want to negotiate a better deal, I was also thinking this, what would be a legitimate salary for a college football player?
I mean, I think it just depends on how much you're getting out of them, right?
Well, I'm saying for the very best, we all know, what did Lamar Jackson just get per year? $40 million? Was that his contract that he negotiated?
I have no idea.
I mean, Kyler makes 41 or something like that to play professional football. So what would be the I think Caleb Williams should probably be making $10 million a year if you're talking about market value and all that stuff. Like that seems like that would be fair.
I could even see the argument if you wanted to say 15. I don't think I'd blink an eye.
Right.
Just because he's such a dynamic player.
I mean, coaches are making 10.
Yeah.
Players should. I mean, the very best players. If you're a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's gonna be the number one pick, he should be the highest paid college football player.
Sure.
So yeah, 15. Wouldn't really blink at that.
No, I don't know what the number would be. I have no idea, but I think you could almost make the argument that some of these guys probably are more meaningful to the school or institution or whatever, probably more so than a Lamar Jackson or whoever is to the Baltimore Ravens.
Baker Mayfield might be more valuable to Oklahoma than he is to a professional football team right now.
Correct. Fact.
I don't think that's crazy.
Yes, fact.
I mean, OU's not going to go out and just pay him $40 million.
Right.
I mean,
they wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't be sustainable.
But you know, I don't know what he's making, $8 million or something, 15. What was he making with Tampa? I don't even remember seeing what that contract was. He'll be here Friday, by the way, the Baker Mayfield camp. It's always fun going out to that. I think if your kid isn't signed up, I think you just have to go to bakermayfieldcamp.com. But you know, he'll be out there, so we'll get to talk to him a little bit.
1 year, $4 million.
$4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2.8.
He's probably worth $4 million.
2.8 signing bonus.
Okay. So 6.8 overall, and I'm sure there's some escalators in there or something. Probably isn't getting it all, but yeah, I mean, but when he was at OU,
Lamar signed a 5-year, $260.
That's $52 a year.
Wow. So I don't know. It was just I just kind of had that thought because of the EA stuff, and it's just like these guys, you know, could, and Caleb's probably making $3 million a year easy with all the stuff that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like if you think that you have the opportunity to opt out if you don't think it's and negotiate your own deal with EA Sports. I don't think anybody's stopping them. So, all right. Outside of that, I know, Bob. There's one possibility out there as a transfer for a Porter to pick up, maybe.
It's still out there. Yeah, they still got the open scholarship. I mean, no one really screams as that's going to be the guy that Sooners are going to pick up.
Who was the guy the other day that entered that he listed Oklahoma as one of the
Joe
teams?
Toussaint from West Virginia.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But then, that's like, who's contacting me? And then a day later, I'm visiting Kansas State. I'm visiting Texas Tech. I'm going to Zoom with Alabama. It's like, okay, then things work themselves out, and you realize the Sooners really aren't in the picture. Now, they might just fill out the roster just to fill it out. Like, they might add a name that doesn't, is not expected.
Just to have a practice body. Almost.
Exactly. Because I almost think that was something Porter was missing last year, is you have one less scholarship guy. Yaya gets hurt, so now you're down another person. So it's just so you have the bodies around to do what you need to do. But I do think a lot of the attention will go to 2024. So that would give you 3 before you even start thinking about the portal. And I don't think one of them will be T.O. Barrett. And I think that's a bit of a surprise. I guess I was just sort of my logic was that once the point guard made his official visit to OU, all the Missouri chatter would go away. And instead, post-visit, it feels like it's just stronger and stronger to where it feels like Barrett is going to be a Tiger, and that's someone that a couple years ago I thought was a lock for the Sooners, and you can go either way in terms of how well he would have fit the picture in the grand scheme of things. He's a heck of a talent. Was at Edmond North the last 2 years leading to the state championships. Now he's at Link Academy, Branson, Missouri, and thinks he's going to end up being a Tiger. And that might open a door for Forsythe from Dale to officially become a Sooner. That process still might take a while. But I always wondered between Dayton and T.O., they weren't going to take both. So how was that going to work itself out? Now it feels like it's going to. T.O. going to go Mizzou, and then we'll see if OU can close with Dayton, and that would get them on the board for 2024. I still like what Porter's doing, recruiting trail with 2024, but there's no clear-cut favorites to just like circle now. Like this guy is definitely going to be a part of this class.
We're in the conference room and local news is on, and I'm watching this thing.
It's Mr. Food
I'm
time,
watching
guys.
this thing, and I look over, and Eddie has this look of terror on his face.
I didn't even know Mr. Food was still on.
I knew that he was on, but I don't think I'd be putting that on my plate.
Taco potato salad.
I'll take the burger.
I'll say
We're in
this.
grill season. I'll take the
Potato
burger.
salad is pretty terrible as it is, so why not mix it up?
I will eat some potato salad, but I don't know if I'm eating that. That just does not look very appetizing here over the 4th of July holiday weekend.
The only potato salad I've ever had that I've just loved used to be, it's not there anymore. I've been told it's shut down, but Elmer's Barbecue in Tulsa, the best potato salad I've ever had.
I don't think I ever went there.
It was like whipped. It was almost like eating the stuff off of a devil's egg, but potatoes. It was just really good. I don't know why Mr. Foods was so distracting. Jocelyn Erickson.
Yes.
We both were kind of caught off guard by that. Not that it might happen, but that it happened when it did.
Or that she didn't announce it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd been waiting.
But you and I, we were at that softball celebration. She was not there, which we both thought was awkward and odd. Why wouldn't a freshman? Obviously, she wanted to go somewhere else. I don't know the reasons behind it, but if she was upset, I don't think it's warranted because I think Patty gave her every opportunity this year. I mean, she was really hot to start the season. She cooled down. She got replaced in the lineup, but Patty kept trying to use her, and she actually played in the game where they won the national championship.
Yeah, she just, you look at it more. Jossie did not have a hit in the Super Regional or the Women's College World Series. She wasn't producing when her number was being called late in the year. I mean, she was hitting 600 in February. She's still hitting over 500 in March. She had that 8 RBI game. Like, wow, this freshman sensation. Patty does it again. But you have to look B at BYU. Her whole family went there.
Right,
She was the one person that didn't go that direction. But, yeah, I mean, between Alina Torres and Sydney Sanders, and you just start, like, where is her spot in the lineup? Is she mad that she didn't become in every single game starter? But that's how Patty rolls. She's not just going to give it to you. You got to earn it.
She put Grace Lyons in the 8-hole.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. You're gonna have to earn it.
You got to produce, or you will not, be a bigger part of things.
And it just didn't happen. I mean, because you think she still ended up, I believe, like at 330. But when you think about her being over 600 and the way that she had started this season, but this wasn't a surprise to me. I'm sure there might have been legitimate reason as to why she couldn't come back, Marita Hines, just 2 days later. But those alarm bells sound like you're going from. It's not like the Women's College World Series in a strange location where you couldn't get back to Norman or something. It's 2 days later, celebration. Sophia Nugent, Jordy Ball are both there, and they leave 2 days later. But for her to not be there, just let me know maybe something's off here.
I have to say I avoid all Jordy Ball stories like the plague. All links to videos and stuff, and I think our own fans were trolling themselves by posting all that stuff on the boards. It's just like no one really needs to see that.
I finally locked the thread. I just locked it. I'm sorry.
I'd locked one before that because it was like nothing productive was happening. It was just people fighting with each other.
And I don't think anyone has any ill will. I just want people.
No, but I mean,
you just don't have to keep bringing it up.
It's ridiculous. Yes, Nebraska's going to celebrate that they got Jordy Ball, but it's like, is her heart really in it, anymore? You wonder that, too. I'm sure it is. I mean, she's a good softball player. It's a weird deal.
It is.
It's a little Lincoln Riley-esque, if you will. I mean, I'm not calling her T-Bow or anything. She's not going to be hated. I mean, I think people understand the reasons behind it. It's just... I guess that's something you want to watch.
The one thing people will have a hard time reconciling is the pressure of winning at an elite level at OU, but now the pressure of being the face of the entire program. How is that different? How are you more comfortable now being Nebraska softball? You are the program. More so than any head coach or anything like that. It's you. But that's okay compared to trying to be one of several elite players when it comes with the Sooners.
I could see her just walking away from the sport at some point because of that. I mean, I think she wasn't comfortable with it at Oklahoma. Like you said, now the pressure is even greater because she's expected to carry an entire program. Like, people are talking about her going back to the World Series with Nebraska.
Yes.
Like, I don't think that's happening, dudes. Sorry. All right. I think that's all I had really on my plate today. With football and stuff, off-season conditioning's still happening.
2 weeks for media days. 2 weeks.
That will be nice. And George and I have been talking. Eddie, are you in on SEC Media Days with us?
Yeah.
I think we're going to head to Nashville for that.
Go see Shane and the boys.
Go see Shane. Go see Josh Heupel. See if he'll talk to me.
That'd be cool.
Go see Spencer Rattler.
Great.
I don't know that Spencer would really even recognize any of us.
He wouldn't, right? Because of the Zoom era.
Yeah.
we lived in.
I'm glad to be past that era. Thank God. But no, I mean, it's in Nashville, the SEC Media Days. I think there's some interesting storylines. George has really been pushing us to go. So I think we're going to maybe load up a Lexus and go do it. I'm going to check with Ed and see if he can give us something and drive up. It's like a 10-hour drive. It's not a bad trip.
No, it's not.
Anyway, so George will be back next week from vacation, although 4th of July coming up. Hope everybody's going to stay safe for that. I don't know, Eddie, if you partake in any weird 4th of July activities or anything.
Just the celebration of America, which I know you're against.
Very much so. All right. Josh, any last words from you?
No. I'm reading some of the mega thread on the board of a fellow On3 employee that has made some very interesting comments about Bob's story with our SMU site. So that's been an interesting read. Huh. Yeah, a lot of just really shit house takes, but that's fine. It's everybody gets to be the homer they want to be. So.
Yeah, I've honestly taken a mental health break from the board over the weekend. I wasn't talking about any of our members, so just want to be real clear about that. This is like another On3 writer or something?
Uh-huh. This is the much beloved Ian Boyd of our Texas site.
That guy, he eats a lot of pain chips, doesn't he?
He has broken down Bob's story on the that he did with Billy Embody from our SMU site. It's a good dude and does a good job.
So he's taking issue with things that Bob said about SMU or OU? Or?
No, about OU going to SMU.
Yeah. The crux of it is basically Dylan Gabriel will be sorted out now, and now everybody knows Jeff Levy's tendencies, and so it's all going to get sorted out. I don't know why you can't learn things about opposing defenses, but apparently it's a one-way street.
Hey, Ian, who gives a man? God,
it's just super fanboy message board poster stuff. Like, can you guys ever think of a story that you sat down and were like, I'm going to break down this other guy's story, or the story that has nothing to do with the school I cover? I'm going to get real into that.
We have a pretty good reputation for playing nice with people on our network.
Yes,
we do.
It's quite an accomplishment for someone to get us on the other side in 2.5 months.
Yeah,
of being on a network with them.
It's exhausting. There is another part of me that's just like, who cares what this guy thinks?
Yeah,
why is everybody always so caught up on it?
I'm 100% that way. Yeah. I mean, Grimlock does. I think that's the answer. Grimlock cares. How many posts is Grimlock up to in that thread?
Oh, Lord. I mean, he is the initiator.
Oh, he's the OP?
Now it's 6. Oh, yeah. That started with him. Like, I want to say he started that post like May 3rd or something.
I'll need an update on when the Texas fan isn't upset with Oklahoma, or the other way around, where the Oklahoma fan isn't upset with Texas about something. That's kind of the point I'm at. It's like, it's so all predictable now.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, it's just so bad that I'm like, I'm going to be in a thread defending Dylan Gabriel, something I did not anticipate for my year. That was not on my bingo card.
It might be time for the Horns Up for Peace merch, just so we can send some to Ian. I guarantee he would not. He doesn't understand that campaign whatsoever.
He would write like 1,000 words on like the hatred.
No, like how can an OU writer, an OU media personality defend Texas? What does this rivalry come to?
Yes, the fall of Western civilization.
I have so much to say, but you'd have to bleep it out, and it is funny. So if you want to find out what I was going to say, just come find me over the weekend. I will say this though, go break down the 4-3 or something, you dumb. Nobody cares about like what you think about Oklahoma football. Just nobody cares, man. Just go keep posting on a Texas message board, be irrelevant, and we'll move on. We'll move on. But I do have some ideas for the T-shirt. We probably can't say here, though.
Okay. Tell me after the show. I'll think about it. All right. I hear somebody's phone going nuts. It must be time for us to end it. So appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate all our fine sponsors. Enjoy Vision, Dead Soxy, and, of course, Prime Shrimp. So thanks for listening. Hey, we've got the special still going on the site, half price. Unlike some people, we're not going to run promos all that. We actually need to make money at some point. So we do ask for a little bit of money, but we do. I'll bang our own drum. We do great work, and it's only getting better. So if you care, if you want to support us, go sign up for Soonerscoop.com. Half price annual memberships going on right now, and that's getting ready to run out at the end of this month. So by the time you listen to this, you might be paying full price if you don't take advantage now. So love to have you aboard as the season gets ready to roll and as recruiting gets more and more in depth as the summer goes on and commitments starting to be made. So would love for you to have you aboard of the community at Soonerscoop.com. So for all of us here, Josh, Eddie, Bob, I'm Carey Murdoch, and we'll see you guys next week right back here for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.